3 weeks after burying his wife, Ryan meets a woman on the beach who snaps, "You like what you see?" Not as a flirt, but as a test. What begins as a charged moment turns into a story of hidden pain, dangerous secrets, and a love that could cost him everything. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Let's begin. 3 weeks after Emily Carter's funeral, Ryan Carter stopped going to the beach to feel better and started going because the noise of the ocean was the only thing that didn't ask questions. The coastal neighborhood sat on the edge of a big city, glass towers behind him, salt air in front of him, like two different lives refusing to mix. That's when he saw her. Madison Hale stood alone where the wet sand turned to dry, shoulders back, chin lifted, wearing a red bikini the way a soldier wears a plate carrier, on purpose. Men passed. Some slowed. Some stared too long. Madison didn't flinch. She waited, like she was counting how many would fail a silent test. Ryan's gaze wasn't on her body. It was on the way she stood braced, like the world had already hit her and she'd decided it wouldn't knock her down again. Her eyes snapped to his. "Eyes are up here," she said. Ryan held her gaze and answered honestly, because lying felt like spitting on Emily's memory. "You wore that bikini on purpose." For one beat, Madison looked startled, then something softened. Not trust. Not yet. But a crack in the wall. "Maybe I did," she replied, quieter now. Ryan nodded, respectful, and started to move past her. "Most men apologize," Madison said, watching him. "Or they argue." Ryan shrugged. "Most men are performing." Madison's mouth twitched like she almost smiled and hated herself for it. Then she turned back to the sea. That night, Ryan sat on his porch with a glass he didn't drink. Next door, Madison stepped onto her own porch with a glass of wine. They didn't speak. They didn't cross the short distance between their railings. They simply lifted their glasses in a silent acknowledgement, two strangers sharing the same kind of quiet. The next morning, Ryan was walking the shoreline with coffee when a small voice chased him down. "Mister, wait." A little girl, 6 years old, wind-tangled hair, fearless grin, ran toward him with cupped hands like she was carrying treasure. "I'm Ava," she announced, as if Ryan should already know that. She opened her hands. An unbroken sand dollar. Rare. Perfect. Ryan crouched to her level, surprised by the sting behind his eyes. "You know how rare those are?" Ava shook her head, wide-eyed. "Most break before they reach shore," Ryan said. "But sometimes, one survives everything." Ava's grin spread like sunrise. She sprinted back toward the cottage yelling, "Mom! Mom!" The nice man said it's special. Madison stood on the porch watching, arms folded, not defensive, more like she was holding herself together. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. But she didn't look away either. Ryan told himself it was nothing. But later that afternoon, as he carried in groceries, he saw something on Madison's wrist when her sleeve slipped back. Faint bruising that didn't belong to the ocean or the playground. She noticed him notice. Her eyes went cold again, and Ryan understood. The red bikini wasn't confidence. It was a dare to the world and a warning to herself. That night, long after the city lights flickered on behind the dunes, Ryan heard Madison's screen door open. Heard her sit outside. Heard a quiet, broken sound that was too small to be a laugh. A suppressed sob. Ryan didn't move. He didn't intrude. But he didn't forget it. And in the darkness, a car rolled slowly down their street. Too slow for a neighbor, too careful for a tourist, before turning around and disappearing. Ryan watched the taillights fade and felt something he hadn't felt since Emily died. Trouble was coming. Ryan didn't knock on Madison's door the next day. He didn't ask if she'd been crying. He did what grief had taught him. Don't force a moment that isn't ready. Ava didn't share that instinct. She appeared at Ryan's steps holding a plastic bucket. "I need help," she said solemnly. "With what?" "My sand castle," Ava announced. "It keeps collapsing." Ryan almost laughed. Almost. "That's because sand is dramatic." Ava nodded like that explained everything. Then she looked behind her, toward her porch. "Mom's sad today." Ryan's chest tightened. "Your mom will be okay." Ava leaned closer, as if sharing classified information. "She pretends." Before Ryan could answer, Madison called from her porch. "Ava? Don't bother." "It's not bothering." Ava shouted back, then grabbed Ryan's hand like she'd known him forever. Ryan's first instinct was to pull away. Emily's absence still lived in his bones. But Ava's hand was warm and real, and he followed her to the shore where the tide flattened sand into a clean canvas. Ava directed like a construction foreman. Ryan built walls. Ava decorated with shells. And when the castle stood, crooked but proud, Ava clapped like he'd performed a miracle. Madison watched from a distance. She didn't approach. She didn't smile. But when Ava tripped and Ryan caught her before she hit the sand, Madison's shoulders dropped, just slightly, as if she'd seen proof of something she didn't dare hope for. That evening, Madison appeared at Ryan's porch with a paper plate. "Dinner," she said, too stiff, like offering food was safer than offering conversation. Ava insisted. The plate held pasta that looked homemade and imperfect in the best way. Ryan accepted it like it mattered. "Tell Ava it's dangerous. I might become dependent." Madison's eyes flickered. "She'll be pleased." Ryan hesitated, then did what kindness required. He asked, not assumed, "Would you like company?" "No pressure." Madison's hand tightened on the porch railing. Her face said run. Her voice said something else. "Fine," she answered. For 10 minutes. 10 minutes became 40. Ava talked nonstop about ocean treasure, school, and how her mom used to laugh more before the old house. Madison corrected her too fast. Ava, oblivious, added, "Daddy hated laughing." The air shifted. Madison's fork froze. Ryan didn't look at her like she was fragile. He looked at her like she was human. "Your husband?" Ryan asked gently. Madison's throat moved as she swallowed something sharp. "X." Ava slid off her chair and pressed her face against Ryan's side like he was a living pillow. "Mom doesn't like saying his name." Madison's eyes flashed warning at her daughter, then softened into something like defeat. "His name is Daniel Hale." Ryan nodded, careful. "Okay." Madison's voice dropped. "He didn't hit me," she said quickly, then paused, like she realized how practiced that sentence was. "Not the way people imagine." Ryan didn't flinch. "What did he do?" Madison stared at her plate. "He erased me. Slowly. Told me I was lucky he stayed. Lucky anyone wanted me. Told Ava I was too emotional. Told me I was a bad mother whenever I disagreed." Ava yawned mid-sentence, eyelids heavy. Madison watched her daughter, then whispered, "He still thinks we belong to him." Ryan felt the urge to promise protection, big words, dramatic vows. Instead, he chose honesty. "I lost my wife," he said. "Emily died fast. I didn't get time to prepare. I just woke up in a life that didn't include her." Madison finally looked at him. Really looked. "And you're still standing?" "I'm standing," Ryan said. "Some days that's all I can do." Madison's eyes shone. Then she blinked hard like she hated tears. 10 minutes, she reminded him, but her voice wasn't sharp anymore. Ryan stood, respectful. "Then I'll go?" "But Madison, if you ever need a neighbor to walk you home, or carry groceries, or just sit on a porch and not talk." "I don't need," she started. Then Ava, half asleep, murmured, "I like Ryan." Madison froze. Ryan didn't move, didn't push. Madison's face tightened like she was fighting a war inside her. Finally, she whispered, "Good night, Ryan." He walked back next door feeling something he hadn't allowed himself to feel since the funeral. Hope. And somewhere out beyond the dunes, a phone camera clicked, quiet, distant, capturing a photo through the darkness. The next week became routine in the way broken people secretly crave. Morning coffee on separate porches turned into coffee on the same steps. Ava between them, swinging her legs and narrating the seagulls like she was hosting a nature show. Ryan fixed a loose fence board without being asked. Madison left a cup of coffee on his railing without a note. No declarations. No labels. Just consistency. Then, on a bright Saturday, the black SUV returned. It parked outside Madison's cottage like it owned the curb. Ryan saw Madison stiffen before she even looked up, like her body recognized danger faster than her mind did. A man stepped out, mid-30s, expensive haircut, expensive watch, smile polished like a weapon. Daniel Hale. He walked up the path and called, "Madison." Her face went pale. Ava, who had been humming while drawing in the sand, stopped mid-line. "Mom?" she whispered. Daniel's smile widened when he saw Ava. "There's my girl." Ava didn't run to him. She moved behind Ryan. Ryan felt her fingers clamp onto his shirt. Daniel noticed, and for a fraction of a second his mask slipped, annoyance flashing like heat lightning, before the smile returned. "Who's this?" Daniel asked, looking Ryan up and down as if assessing furniture. "My neighbor, Madison said too quickly. Daniel chuckled. Right. The helpful widower. Ryan's spine tightened. He hadn't told Daniel anything, which meant Daniel had done homework. Daniel stepped closer to Madison, voice smooth. I've been thinking. I want to make things right. Madison's jaw clenched. You disappeared for months. I was giving you space, Daniel said, as if abandonment was a gift. But Ava needs stability, and I'm ready to be a father again. Ava trembled behind Ryan. I don't want to go, she whispered, so softly only Ryan heard it. Ryan didn't speak for her. He didn't decide for Madison. He simply put his hand lightly over Ava's shoulder, steady, present. Madison's eyes flicked to Ryan's hand. Something in her expression shifted, like she remembered she wasn't alone. You can't just show up, Madison said, voice steadier now. And you can't pretend nothing happened. Daniel's smile thinned. We're family. We're not, Madison said. Daniel's eyes sharpened. Then we'll let a judge decide. The sentence landed like a threat because it was one. Daniel's gaze moved to Ryan again. Careful, he said softly. People make assumptions about men who move in on grieving families. Ryan took a slow breath. He kept his voice calm, because rage is exactly what men like Daniel feed on. Ava looked scared. Daniel's smile returned, colder. Kids get confused when adults fill their heads. Madison stepped between Daniel and Ava. Leave. Daniel's eyes narrowed. You think you can keep her from me? Yes, Madison said, shaking but standing. If it keeps her safe. Daniel held up both hands like he was the victim. Fine. I'll do this the right way. He turned to walk back to his SUV, then paused and looked over his shoulder with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. And Madison, he said, you should know. I didn't just come for Ava. I came for what's mine. Then he left. The SUV pulled away, tires crunching gravel like teeth. Madison's strength collapsed the second it was gone. She scooped Ava into her arms, shaking. I'm sorry, Madison whispered into her daughter's hair. I'm so sorry. Ryan didn't touch Madison without permission. He stood close enough that she could lean if she chose. Madison finally looked at him, eyes wet with fear. He's going to take her. Ryan's voice stayed gentle, firm. No, he's going to try. Madison swallowed. And if he can't, he'll punish me another way. That night, Madison didn't come out onto her porch, but Ryan did. He sat on the steps in the dark with 2 cups of coffee, one black, one with cream, waiting as the ocean breathed. And across the street, a shadowed car idled for 10 minutes before rolling away. Monday morning, Ryan woke to a knock that felt wrong, sharp, urgent, not neighborly. 2 people stood on his porch, a woman with a clipboard and a man with a practiced expression. Child Protective Services. Ryan's stomach dropped. Ryan Carter? The woman asked. Yes. We've received concerns regarding a minor child at the neighboring address. Ryan's mind raced. Ava? What concerns? The man glanced at his notes. Allegations of an unrelated adult male spending frequent unsupervised time with the child. Ryan went still. This wasn't random. This was Daniel Hale. Ryan forced himself to breathe. Ava's mother is present whenever I'm with her. The woman's tone wasn't accusing, just careful. We need to speak with Ms. Hale. And we'll need to document your interactions. Ryan nodded. Of course. But inside, anger surged, because Daniel wasn't just trying to win custody. He was trying to poison the very thing Madison was rebuilding. Trust. Madison answered her door with Ava behind her legs, clutching a stuffed dolphin. Madison's face crumpled when she saw the CPS badge. He did this, she whispered. Ryan didn't deny it. We'll handle it honestly. The caseworker interviewed Madison, spoke to Ava, gently, observed their home. Ryan stayed outside unless invited, because respect matters, and optics matter when truth is on trial. Ava, when asked how she felt around Ryan, said, safe. Madison's eyes filled with tears. The caseworker finished, expression neutral but not cold. We'll document everything, she said. If there's a custody dispute, expect more attempts to build a narrative. After they left, Madison's hands shook so badly she could barely hold her keys. I can't, she said. I can't lose her. Ryan wanted to wrap her in his arms. Instead, he asked softly, can I sit with you? Madison nodded once. They sat on her porch in silence while Ava drew in a notebook, faces with big eyes, like maps full of secrets. Madison finally spoke, voice raw. Daniel knows how to destroy people without touching them. Ryan's jaw tightened. So do I. Madison looked at him, startled. What do you mean? Ryan stared out at the water, throat tight. Before Emily died, I testified in an internal investigation against a developer in the city. A man who was bribing inspectors, cutting corners. People got hurt. I told the truth anyway. Madison's eyes widened. And he threatened my family, Ryan said quietly. Emily wanted me to stop. I didn't. Then she got sick, fast. I keep thinking, if I'd been home more, if I'd chosen differently. Madison's voice softened. That's not your fault. Ryan let out a breath that shook. Daniel's threats don't scare me the way they should. I've already lived with the worst consequence, losing someone I love. Madison's face tightened with fear. Ryan, if Daniel realizes you're not leaving. He already knows, Ryan said. As if summoned by the words, Ryan's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text. Stop playing hero, or Ava will pay for it. Ryan's blood turned cold. Madison saw his face change. What is it? Ryan didn't hide it. He showed her the screen. Madison covered her mouth, eyes wide with terror. He'll do it, she whispered. He'll hurt her just to punish me. Ryan's voice went low, steady, the way it did when he had to be the adult in chaos. Then we don't let him near her. We document everything. We tell the truth. And we don't handle this alone. Madison's eyes filled again, but this time there was something else in them too. Relief, maybe. Because Ryan wasn't promising magic. He was promising presence. That night, Madison did something she hadn't done since Ryan arrived. She reached for his hand. And she didn't pull away. Daniel filed for emergency custody. He claimed Madison was unstable, emotionally erratic, influenced by a grieving neighbor who inserted himself into a vulnerable family. He brought witnesses, a friend in a suit, a babysitter Madison had fired, even a photo taken at night. Ryan and Madison on the porch, coffee cups visible, Ava asleep inside. A narrative, carefully built. But Ryan and Madison had something Daniel couldn't manufacture. Truth with receipts. Texts. The CPS report. Documentation of Daniel's absence. Notes from Ava's teacher about her anxiety whenever Dad came up. A therapist's statement about emotional abuse patterns. And then Madison did the bravest thing. In court, she didn't rage. She didn't crumble. She spoke calmly. Daniel didn't break my bones, she said. He broke my sense of reality. He told me I was worthless until I believed it. He told my daughter love was conditional. He left, then returned when he realized I was rebuilding. Daniel's attorney tried to twist it. You're saying you needed a man to save you? Madison turned slightly, looked at Ryan, then back to the judge. No, she said. I needed a man who asked before touching, who showed up consistently, who treated my child like a human, not leverage. Ryan's chest tightened. Ava, in a private interview, said something small that changed the room. I don't feel safe with Daddy, she told the court officer. He smiles, but it's not real. Daniel's mask finally cracked, anger flashing when he thought no one important was watching. The judge noticed. By the end of the hearing, Daniel didn't lose everything, but he lost what he came for, control. Supervised visitation only. Mandatory parenting classes. A warning from the judge about retaliation and harassment. A restraining order consideration if threats continued. Outside the courthouse, Madison's knees nearly buckled. Ryan caught her elbow, asked first with his eyes, and she leaned in. You did it, Ryan whispered. Madison shook her head. We did. Ava ran between them holding something in her hand. Ryan crouched. What V you got there? Ava opened her palm. Another $100. Unbroken. Madison laughed through tears, and the sound was so real it startled her. Weeks later, on a bright afternoon, they returned to the beach where everything began. Madison wore the red bikini again, but this time it wasn't armor. It was choice. Her shoulders weren't braced. Her smile wasn't borrowed. It was hers. Ryan stood beside her, watching Ava chase the foam at the shoreline. Madison looked up at him and said, softly, I used to think love was something you survived. Ryan's throat tightened. And now I think it's something you practice, Madison said. With honesty. With boundaries. With kindness that doesn't ask for anything back. Ryan took her hand. No grand speech. No dramatic vow. Just the truth. I'm here, he said. Still. Madison leaned in and kissed him. Slow, steady, not desperate. Ava shouted from the surf, Mom. Ryan. Look. She held up the $100 like a trophy. Ryan watched the two people beside him, mother and daughter, and understood the symbol in Ava's small palm. Some things survive everything. And if you're brave enough to keep showing up, you can find a family again. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more stories that stay with you.